Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kendra, your certified life and relationship coach, specialty in health science, guys. And today's video is just going to be about some really good things that will help you when you're in a stressful situation. And I hope that you can take this information and use it because I believe that it's very valuable. I am going to be leaving some descriptions in the description box. I am not a medical doctor. My specialty is in health science. I do have medical background, over 12 years experience in the medical field. So with research and just, experience, I've found that these things seem very, very accurate. They have been researched, and again, I'm not a medical doctor. So if you're ever in an emergency situation, do contact medical help, seek medical attention. If you ever want to work with me or book a session with me, you can always go to my website, www.candracurry.com, or you can always email me, opening your email and going to emailing me at book@candracurry.com. So guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. You may want to grab a pen and paper because this information is just going to be a lot of medical kind of, jargon, a lot of verbiage. You might want to just, rewatch it. Whatever you want to do, feel free, go right ahead. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Basically, I'm still deciding on the thumbnail, guys, and hopefully it'll be something related to stress and relating to just your kind of like physical response to stress and what to do. So it's going to be somewhere in that area, guys. So just you'll see from the video title, hopefully, that it is about stress somewhere, or what to do, or a mechanical way of managing stress. But this is going to be quite a lengthy one here. So let's get started, guys. So to begin, I have my notes, as always, because these things can't be quite, overlooked, and I want to make sure that I stick to the script. So, to begin, stress is what we're here to talk about. Sometimes we're under stress and under trauma. I've talked about it before on my channel. Really in relationships and really in life, these are two of my focal points, and just kind of using like a health background on it. Sometimes it really helps us to understand how we can manage the life stress or the life situations, or in relationships. Just I find that health has been a very good balance to figuring some things out. And this video is going to be about some really good tips to help figure some things out, just based off of like our mechanics as people and how we function. So like sometimes there's not always we feel like there should always be a spiritual response. There should always be this way that we want to respond to a situation, but sometimes our physical bodies can't actually get the message, so from brain to body, sometimes there's like a disconnect, and we find ourselves kind of acting out in relationships, or just feeling discouraged, or feeling all of these different things that are a result of our bodily functions at times. And sometimes we don't even know there could be something else deeper going on or whatever. And that's why I believe like the medical side is so unique and so brilliant to have it as a tool when we're going through stressful times. So many of us can try to combat stress with things such as meditation, breath work, diet, nutrition, good nutrition. Good social connections are important, and just living an overall like good life and not doing bad things. So basically you want to just however way you can attack it and combat the stress. You want to find a way where you sometimes not able to disengage completely from that activity. You know, if it's especially in a role at work where, you know, you may feel like I got to respond right now. You know, my boss just emailed me, and all of a sudden you start to feel the palms sweating. You start to feel, you know, the, you know, throat getting tight. Like, you don't know what's going on. So, but in that moment, you can't just leave work, and you have to still be able to perform. So you want to be able to have something useful, something helpful, and that's what I'm hoping that this is going to do. It's just like, you know, provide some kind of combating that stress in real time. So when things are stressful, traumatic, and painful, such as the pandemic, you know, such as job loss or a failed relationship, we want to push past the pain or use our mind as a benefit. And that's where this is research from Andrew Huberman's lab. He is a neuroscientist, and he's someone who I follow, and I love his work. And shout out to him if he ever comes across this video. And I hope I'm doing his work some justice trying to go through this, but bear with me. But he did an interview and it was just like awesome. And so every point pretty much that I'm taking from his video, he inspired me on this video, and I just agree with everything that he's saying about his work. Like, I don't know, like maybe I've not come across all of his work, but like most of his work I have watched, and it has seemed like, wow, it's just really good. So I definitely feel like incorporating this into my practices, into my job, what I do, helping clients or coaching, and you know, everything like that. So definitely I'm trying to teach this, but he is an awesome neuroscientist and I'm not. So we will see how this goes. So basically, we want to use our brain to help us push past the pain at times, and we want to use our body for our benefit when we're going through stress, and that's where we're going with this. So there's a couple different paths depending on the trauma that we're experiencing, but basically he notes that all traumas, anxieties, fears, they really all map back to our stress in some way. So you can have stress without trauma. You can have anxiety without trauma. You can have anxiety without trauma, but you can't have trauma without stress and anxiety. And I thought that was really interesting. There are not strict boundaries between trauma, stress, and fear. So trauma is, he noted, rooted in a fear or stress response happening at the wrong time. So trauma is where it feels like something is making life uncomfortable or exceedingly challenging. So an example would be sexual assault, or a veteran coming back from overseas, or someone in a really bad car accident, or being involved, they saw a really bad car accident, or they were involved themselves in a really bad car accident. But he talks about two traumas, and there is first person trauma, and then there's third person trauma. Third person trauma is when you see it happening. There's grief, and we don't have to overcomplicate, you know, all the titles and everything, but stress is at the core of it all. You know, basically stress can be looked at in two categories. So we need to be able to separate those two categories so we can know what kind of stress we're dealing with and how to attack it physically when we're under these two different types of stress, because there's two different branches of this stress that we want to kind of go through and make sure that we're attacking the right kind of stress the right way. So in your mind, for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about the two stresses. The first stress is the stress that we all know, which is going to be like a hyper active kind of like stress. So it's kind of a hyper alert stress. Let's say that, hyper alert stress. So that's where you're too active, too alert. You want to be less agitated and less alert. That's the first stress. So we have hyper alert stress. Okay. So that's, I talked about the sweaty palm earlier or whatever. That's the, pupils dilating, all of that anger response, fight or flight, all of that is the first hyper alert stress. Sorry. Hyper alert stress. So these situations is where we need to take control of the mind and body in order to calm down, to reduce the stress response, right? So the second type of stress is the exhausted. You turn on the TV and it's the COVID pandemic and you're still like, oh my God, we can't go to work. We got to work at home. You become now like kind of set in your ways. You're kind of like, oh, I got to, do all this laundry or whatever it is, but you're overwhelmed and you need energy and you're trying to work up to completing what your tasks are. And you need that good stress. You need that ability to be able to perform. And you don't have it. So you're needing energy, and that's a stress, believe it or not, So we have to be able to find a way to kind of get our physical body to do something, I think we've all felt a little stress and pressure from COVID where we're like, oh, I got to get up, I got to do this. And we all have obligations and we have to get it done. And our bodies sometimes just don't perform the way we want it to. So the whole process, Andrew notes, is the limbic friction. So put on your seatbelts, y'all. We're about to go in. The limbic system is located deep in the brain. So there's limbic friction. Limbic friction. Limbic friction is happening when we're trying to engage, so to speak, with our brain and our body. So during stress and trauma, there's a response that's going on in our brain that it's trying to communicate, this is how I should respond, this is how I shouldn't respond. So remember, it's rooted in stress. So when you're going through something and you have to try to reach for some tool, this is knowing your body and knowing how it functions so that you can gain control of it in a stressful situation, so you're not overreacting or doing anything that is, not legal or rational. And that's where this comes in, because having a physiological response to stress is what I believe in. Sometimes like we all get in a situation and we get in a bind and we're like, uh-oh, I should not have responded in anger, or I should not have like fell asleep on the job, like whatever it is, whatever extreme of stress you're experiencing, you need to be able to know something real quick sometimes. So the limbic friction that's happening is basically from the limbic system, and that's in our brain, and it literally means limbic is Latin for edge. So there's in our brain the limbic system, and oftentimes in there, that's where a lot of activity is going on when we're stressed. When we're stressed, the limbic system and also the frontal system of our brain, that is pretty much the prefrontal cortex, our frontal lobe, is basically, there are these wires between the two that is communicating how to be under stress and how to think rational. So when you're trying to basically come up with an idea and you're trying to figure out how to solve a situation, you can't think that fast, and you need a system in place to be able to do that. Now, for some people, it's going to be going for a little quick walk, or again, they may do yoga. Maybe you can stop and do yoga or something else, but I'm going to get to that exercise I'm going to give you that is going to help you to try to bridge the limbic friction that you're having between making a good decision and the stressful situation. So this limbic friction is embedded in the fact that there's these wires between our frontal lobe and our limbic system that are communicating, and when the impulses fail to do that, we react in a way it's not rational, it's not calm. So basically, these impulses will cause, if they're off, they'll cause the fatigue, falling asleep, I mentioned, anxiety, so if there's damage to your frontal or limbic system, there could be where you just don't know how to respond, and you've seen people react, and they start getting more frustrated and more angry, and they're cursing or just acting out of character, and there are these impulses that the brain is trying to I always like to see it as like neurons firing off. That's how I was taught it. Like, something's wrong. The neurons is not firing off. Like most people say, the elevator is not going to the top, or whatever you call it. But there is a pathway between our prefrontal lobe and our limbic system that's trying to communicate like, hey, you need to be calm. Hey, you need to be rational and not be acting crazy and irate and just getting yourself in trouble, ma'am, sir. So, okay, this is where we're going. So basically, the damage in these limbic pathways, back on track, can affect our top-down process. And basically, under that hyper stress, you want to, those two stresses I talked about in the beginning. So under hyper stress, you want to calm down. You don't want to say the things that you shouldn't. You want to basically be able to calm down. So, and then the second one, which is just you're overwhelmed and you're feeling like, you need to get more active, you need more energy, you want to lean more into life. That's the overwhelming stress, and you have to know what kind of stress you're experiencing to know what kind of a path to take in order to get back mechanically, so to speak, or physiologically balanced, right? So mechanically meaning just the way our body is moving. So you want to get back control of your senses and get back control of yourself and just kind of like be back to a homeostatic place so you can be you and be the best version of you, okay? And be empowered. So, when you can't control your mind, you must do something purely mechanical. And that's what the joy is about our bodies and why I love them. And it's just like, wow, it's such a good, cool thing to have this system. And God was so amazing when He designed us. And I find it so attractive. Like, He's just so smart and so unique, and just don't get me started. So the physiological side kicks in, guys, when we're irrational, and it's so good. You might see the opposite extreme where you see somebody fighting, but then you might see the opposite side of that where God created us to remain calm and peaceful. I love it. So once you take control of the body, then the mind falls back under the umbrella of the top-down processing. I know I went a little left on that, but stay with me because I'm going somewhere and you're coming with me. So They say that children and puppies don't have this. In humans, you'll see in dementia patients, they can become very impulsive and, just do things. They might not yell or anything like that, but they just might kind of become like a little resistant, But basically, these wires in the frontal cortex suppress the impulses. So that limbic friction with the wires from the frontal to the limbic are suppressing impulses. So when there's damage, it removes that brake. You see the maturation of the frontal cortex when someone knows how to be very calm, very cool, very collect. They have a very, good, strong frontal cortex. So that's something that we want, and that's good. Like you might see a child that knows how to sit still and they know how to behave. And so that behavior is all driven from how their brain is like just mature. It's grown up, in a way, in a sense. So sometimes you do see people acting out and adults acting like children, which is, we don't want to judge. You don't know how the situation is going and everything. So, it's just there. I see things medical. So, like, I oftentimes explain this to people. I'm like, I just see things different, if someone's acting out, I do see it sometimes as maybe they're having a serious condition. And I really do believe that. But, basically, you see the maturation of the frontal cortex. The more calm and more relaxed a person can be when they can control their speech and behavior and emotions, it's all affected by that frontal cortex. So when we're sick and pained and fatigued, we have a harder time controlling impulses in the limbic system. So, and we say things we don't mean or act out. So this is for all the medical heads or people who just love to hear a bunch of medical stuff. And I'm one of those. So I hope you guys are enjoying the video. We're already 22 minutes in. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer. I feel it coming closer to an end, but give it about a few more minutes, guys. Yeah. So basically you want to try, you're trying to, basically what we're going to do is try to take control of our internal landscape during the time of stress, during this time of trauma. And these are very serious things that I'm talking about, guys. I've gone left, right, left, but now I'm back. We want to try to take control of our internal landscape during times of stress so we can be able to manage, right, and think rational, so we're not acting out, okay? So that can be hard to do, taking control back of our thinking in stress, because then we have that fear and intimidation and different things that might come up, and it's like, I might say something, I might do something, what do I do? I think we get it here. So you can't control the mind with the mind. That's something that Andrew pointed out. He said it's like grabbing fog. Have you ever tried to fight your mind with the mind? And he says it's like grabbing fog. I think that is so true. But positive thinking isn't about being delusional. It's about learning how to take control of your internal processes and understanding that will shape your external environment. So what you think, you will see it. Okay? So if you think of fighting, if you think of being angry, it will impulse because of the way our brains are wired to react out of fear. And you have control over yourself. You have control over that impulse. If you do not feel like you have that, then if you do need further medication or medical treatment, get that. But whatever you do, we want to try to stay under control of situations and keep a balanced frame of mind when we're in life and dealing with things. Sometimes we can get kind of, irate but we don't want to do that, right? So we want to do the best we can to be the best version of ourselves. So behavior is key, okay? So when you want to use a physiological side, which is that top down, which is, brain to body kind of thinking, you want to implement this exercise, and I'm going to get to the exercise. So you can't take control of your faculties, you're all just out of the place, sweating, palms and everything. It's coming, guys. Work with me. So basically, the physiological side for hyperstress will calm down that fight or flight. And then there's the overwhelmed stress, which will help you kind of pick up the pace. So everything the top down process is basically brain to body. But then whenever we're in a situation, we might have to do the opposite, body to brain, which is actually this is the order that it should be in. You breathe, then it's your heart, and then it's your mind. So we're gonna do an exercise here, which is going to be a physiological exercise. So the name of this exercise is called the physiological sigh. Discovered in 1930, which is a pattern of breathing, which is that it consists of 2 deep breaths, inhaled and exhaled through the mouth. Okay, so the first inhale is usually longer than the second through the nose. People often use this when they're claustrophobic or in deep sleep and are awakened by a buildup of carbon dioxide in the blood. When there's too much carbon dioxide in the blood, the triggers give the impulse to breathe. So the lungs will assist in recycling the oxygen and it will output carbon out of the body. So the lungs are the bags of air that we know we have. They're filled with air, and they have tiny capsules within them that will reinflate, and that allows us to take in more oxygen and offload carbon dioxide. So that's where the technique comes in. It's breathing. You want to breathe in, let out. You can repeat this 2 to 3 times. So you're going to, okay? So with that, we're releasing carbon dioxide, which is not good for our bodies. And we want to have a purely mechanical response in stress, because we can't stop and pull out our yoga mat. We can't walk away off the job. We can do this exercise though, the physiological sigh. You can do it quick. But what it does is that second breath is important, Andrew says, because it will open those capsules that are within our lungs. There are millions of these capsules, which are small little capsules within our lungs, that will open up more once we do that second breath. But so much carbon dioxide will trigger in our brain to breathe. It already does this automatically. That's why we're alive, and that's why we're breathing. We're getting the carbon dioxide out. So that's why we have carbon dioxide smoke detectors and everything. So it's like our bodies are already triggered to do this automatically, but you might be having an episode where you can't, kind of grasp yourself, and you may feel like, I need some additional help. I need something to calm down, or I need something to pick myself up again. And that's where this exercise, it helps. And I love it. I just love it. So this exercise helps offload carbon dioxide and takes in more oxygen, and it brings your levels of stress and alertness down very, very fast and allows you to feel more calm. So we're taking control of that internal landscape. This is all purely mechanical. So we can control our thinking again, because when we have that O2, when we have that oxygen, it's opening up more pathways to our brain from our lungs. Like I said, the order goes breathe, heart, mind. It goes breath. So, and it's to our heart. Now our heart can send signals, and through our lungs can send signals of oxygen to our brain to think. Calm down, think. So this is where the breathing comes in, and I just love it. So it's just like a mechanical response to it's a physiological mechanical response to something we're experiencing in stress in our mind, that fog that we can't get out of. You can take control of it, and God wired us so amazing. And I really believe like he knew when he put us together that this is how we are built. We breathe. Then it goes to our heart, and then to our minds. Okay? So we're breathing our way out of stress, and we're going to control that stress. So if the mind isn't working the way you want it to, don't start with the mind. No. Start with breathing, which will control your heart rate, which will control your mind. Okay? So basically, when you have that feeling where you want, so basically there's a direct relationship between how you breathe and heart rate, which helps brings energy. When you inhale, your diaphragm goes down. I'm doing this exercise, guys. I'm practicing. Okay? You speed up your heart rate. So, when you want to get that energy up and you're trying to get energy, it's like you're overwhelmed at home, you need the energy to get what you need and done. Literally, you can sit on the edge of your bed and do an exercise and inhale. So basically, inhale quickly. You speed up your heart rate. So when you exhale, that slows down your heart rate. So if you're in a stressful situation, your diaphragm is moving down to calm you. Okay? So, if you want to calm the mind, slow the breathing. And if you want energy, speed up the breathing. Okay? So, longer, more vigorous inhales speed up the heart, and you can get more done. That's the pathway you're taking. When you're tired, you need energy. And the second types of stress, you want to do longer, exhale, slow breathing, and that slows down the heart rate. So when you're in a fight or flight, when you're angry, when you might have just lost a job, when you're going through a breakup, whatever it is, your child just stepped on your toe, you want to curse, longer, vigorous exhales. Okay? So we want heart rate variability, which is a medical term, to help keep the nervous system calm, which will communicate with our peripheral system and then back to our brain. So Guys, I hope that you found something useful in this video, and do this physiological sigh, which was founded in 1930, and let's just stay healthy. And until next time, guys, I will see you later.